What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. Hope all is well wherever you are. We hope you're happy, safe, healthy, and that you are excited because the 2021 NFL Draft is just about here. It gets going on Thursday. We have a lot to discuss between now and then. In fact, we're going to be here for a live stream on Tuesday night. Myself and the Talking the Draft crew, Connor Livesey, Dalton Miller, and Cole Patterson. We're going to go through every single Dallas Cowboys pick live with all of you, a live simulation to figure out who we want this team to ultimately take when it's all said and done. If you do want to hear more draft chatter, we have a roundtable episode available for you that we released on Sunday. You can see myself, NFL Network's Bobby Belt, Jersey Boys' own Dave Sturchio. You can listen to him on the Blogging the Boys podcast network. Go subscribe over there as well. We talked about a number of different things when it comes to the Cowboys, things we want to see, things we would be scared to see. We also had on Kelsey Charles from Girls Talking Boys, and of course, the Athletics' own Dane Brugler, the author of The Beast, the best mind in the NFL draft business. We are gathered here today, though, for a different purpose. Obviously, it is the week of the NFL draft, but today we'll be taking a look backwards, taking a look, not quite, I guess, the rear view mirror, but definitely looking down the lens of nostalgia, because on Monday, ESPN's Todd Archer was the first to report that Dallas Cowboys linebacker Sean Lee is retiring. That's right, the general calling it quits after over a decade of service in the National Football League. This sometimes players leaving hurts a little bit more. And the Cowboys, as Cowboys fans, we've had to watch a number of our favorite players leave over the course of the last 5 or so years. You think about in 2017, the team says goodbye to Tony Romo. In fact, 3 years before that, DeMarcus Ware left for greener pastures, went and won a Super Bowl with the Denver Broncos. But Romo's gone. Des Bryant's ultimately cut. They cut Dan Bailey. Jason Witten retires, comes back, retires again. Travis Frederick retires. I mean, being a fan obviously is an emotional yo-yo sometimes, and Sean Lee, the latest Dallas Cowboy to ultimately say enough is enough. He had an incredible career for the Dallas Cowboys, a short career nonetheless, in terms of games played, because that's really been the story with Sean Lee his whole time as the Cowboys linebacker, really the face of the Cowboys defense so much. And I know we talk about this, and it sounds funny because we know the Cowboys defense has been so bad and was so bad really for most of Sean Lee's career, but that was really never Sean's fault. Anytime he was out there, really made a huge difference. You look at his stats, obviously 11 seasons in the NFL, 14 career interceptions, always had a knack for being around the ball. 521 solo tackles, 118 games played. That's the number that I think bothers most of us. That 2014 season, during one of the very first practices, going up against then rookie Zach Martin, Sean Lee gets hurt. Everybody's wondering what the season's going to look like. The Cowboys trade for Rolando McClain. They go 12-4. Des catches it on and on and on. I can't believe that was 7 years ago. Sean Lee was a first-team All-Pro in 2016, the highest honor an NFL player can achieve. No disrespect, actually all disrespect intended, the Pro Bowl. It's a long way away from what it once was. But Sean Lee was a Pro Bowl player in 2015 and 2016. And I mentioned it. I mean, really just kind of there aren't a lot of linebackers like Sean Lee anymore. And I know I don't mean to sound like I don't mean to sound old or whatever the case may be, but a true and classic linebacker from Penn State wore the black cleats. I mean, just kind of like a legendary player from day one. And I think that's really how we all felt. And somebody who just, was this immortal football mind trapped in his human body. And I think that's what we saw. And that's what made rooting for him and watching him, hurt so much, because we knew that the Cowboys were so much better with Sean Lee on the field, but he just couldn't stay healthy. And that was more heavily the knock on him early on in his career. Things, I wouldn't say the waters stabilized later on in his career, but things got better. But one of the better players, maybe the best defensive player to ever play for the Cowboys through all of Jason Garrett's tenure. Obviously, DeMarcus Ware left about halfway through, and I've tweeted this before, but you think about the players the Cowboys have had, and we named some of them, right? But all these guys, all these players that you could make some Ring of Honor arguments for that, ultimately leave their time with the Cowboys without even appearing in an NFC Championship game. And it's obviously disappointing and it's frustrating and it upsets all of us as fans, but sometimes that's the way football goes. And Sean Lee, look, he knows this life better than anybody else. And this is going to get you emotional, so I'll prepare you. Take a deep breath, because Sean Lee released a letter on Monday in the immediate aftermath of the news of his retirement. We've got it for you now, available on the screen. Let's collect ourselves. Let's make sure that we're ready for this. All right, here we go. A letter from Sean Lee. For 11 seasons, I was privileged to wear the Cowboys star. We want to play forever, but today it's my time to walk away. To the Jones family, you treated me as one of your own since I arrived. You allowed me to shine and grow as a player and person. Thank you for your support and graciousness. To the coaches, your endless hours of work made me a better player and pushed me to places I didn't know I could go. I'll carry your lessons through the rest of my life. To my teammates, I love you like brothers. The bond of our shared sacrifice will last forever. I'll miss the brotherhood, but will cherish the memories from the locker room following all the big wins and tough losses. To the athletic training staff, Lord knows you earned your money working with me, but I couldn't have made it through my injuries without you. Britt Brown, thank you for pushing me as far as you did. To the fans, you lifted me up when I needed it most. I didn't want to let you down. If there's a regret, it's that I never helped bring a championship back home because you deserve it so much. To my family, you have always been my foundation. I love and cherish all of you. I couldn't have done anything without your support. Mom and Dad, you showed me the right way, giving me every opportunity to succeed. To my brother and sister, I look to both of you for inspiration. To my in-laws, thanks for all your love and support. To my wife, Megan, I love you dearly. You were there for every injury, every bad game. I never would have persevered without your support. To the game of football, it changed my life. Whenever I'm near a field, the smell brings me back to when I first started playing. Pulling on a helmet, trying on those shoulder pads, that perfect tackle. To think of the journey now, experiencing things I never thought possible with the men and women who make this game what it is, I'm beyond grateful. Thank you, Cowboys Nation. It's been my honor. What do you say? I mean, seriously, what do you say? The guy can't go out with more class than that, and I think that's what upsets us, right? Like that's what we can't square as football fans because it's not right. It's not right that the players like this, that people like this don't get to play in the game's ultimate game. Don't get to have that moment. Don't get to experience the confetti falling on them. And we want that, and we've wanted that, and we've had to say, like I said, goodbye to so many players who deserve that didn't get that. And I think that's where our frustration with the Cowboys comes into play, and that's why we obsess over things like the draft because we want it to get right. We don't want the Sean Lees of the world to go through their time with the Dallas Cowboys, the most coveted and prestigious, sports franchise on earth, and have this be their experience. And I think that, Sean Lee really did personify kind of that team first mantra. It was whatever he could possibly do, whether he was healthy and he was on the field, whether he wasn't healthy, whether he was wearing a headset on the sidelines. Many people have thought that maybe he would ultimately, kind of head to those sidelines when his playing days are over. And I don't know. I don't know what's next for Sean Lee. Obviously, a lot of Cowboys fans, if they had their way, Tony Romo would be the offensive coordinator, Jason Witten would be the tight ends coach, DeMarcus Ware would be the linebackers coach, and Sean Lee would be the defensive coordinator. And all that that's another way, right? Like that's another thing we do because we can't say goodbye. So it's kind of like, well, how do we, it's kind of like when you don't want to get rid of something in your house when you're doing spring cleaning and, you're like, my wife will say, do you want to get rid of this? And I don't. So, no, I'll just keep it. I'll just hold it here. I'll just hold it. And she's, what are you going to use it for? I don't know. I'm going to use it for, I don't want to let it go. And that's kind of how we are with some of these things. And while, I kind of knock that and it kind of sounds silly, this is one that makes a lot of sense. All right. I never bought into Romo as offensive coordinator, head coach, or Witten or Ware, but this is one that makes a lot of sense. I think Sean Lee would make an incredible coach, an incredible linebackers coach, an incredible defensive coordinator, an incredible head coach someday. I hesitate to make this comparison because it's low-hanging fruit, but it really does make sense. He could really follow the path that Mike Vrabel has kind of, laid out for other players. And Mike Vrabel's not the first, but I think that's an active one that makes a lot of sense. And we could kind of see that if you remember, Sean Lee has always kind of been a coach. There was an article that I believe it was Robert Mays at the time at The Ringer did, kind of profiling the relationship that Sean Lee had with Matt Eberflus, the Cowboys' old linebackers coach, who's now the defensive coordinator for the Indianapolis Colts. And something that kind of stuck out to me about that article is it talked about how Sean Lee was already like a coach. And Robert Mays wrote about how Sean Lee, the backseat of Sean Lee's car just had like nothing but coffee cups because he just was like crushing coffee and, like throwing the cups and just onto another tape grinding session. That's just kind of the way Sean Lee worked. And that's the Sean Lee that we always knew. And so that's a player that we'll miss. When Amazon chronicled the 2017 Cowboys on All or Nothing, the final shot after the season ended, disappointing year for the Cowboys, missed out on the playoffs, et cetera, et cetera. The final shot was Sean Lee going back to work. And we're talking like January, grinding tape for the next season. That's really who he's been. And if he's a coach, I think it's something that a lot of players can stand to benefit from. So, we certainly wish Sean the best. Whatever he wants to do, I hope he has success. But if it is coach in the NFL or at the collegiate or high school or whatever level, he'll be very successful. In terms of what the Cowboys are going to do without Sean Lee on the field in the here and now, I don't think this comes as a surprise to them. Again, it was time for Sean Lee to walk away. So this was kind of fairly obvious. Stephen Jones appeared on 105.3 The Fan on Monday and kind of danced around the subject, unlike Mike McCarthy, who completely outed Tyrone Crawford's retirement. But we'll see. I mean, what happens to Sean, but again, not that the Cowboys are stable at the linebacker position, and that's not saying they should draft Micah Parsons or anything. Incidentally, another Penn State linebacker in his own right, but they have Leighton Vander Esch, they have Jalen Smith, and I don't want to say that's enough, but that's enough of a plan, I guess, at least for 2021. At least we'll see what the future holds in 2022 and beyond. It is worth mentioning in that same interview on 105.3 The Fan that Stephen Jones was asked about the Cowboys picking up Leighton Vander Esch's fifth-year option. They have until May 3rd to do so, and he said that they haven't had any discussions about that yet, that they would get into them after the draft. To me, my own personal opinion is that sounds a lot like the Cowboys do not plan on picking up his option. He obviously has a checkered injury history of his own. It's worth mentioning that Leighton was a first-round pick in 2018, and that 2018 class is the first to have their fifth-year option values fully guaranteed. So if the Cowboys do pick up his fifth-year option for 2022, that is a fully guaranteed contract for Leighton Vander Esch. That's about $9 million. And so if the Cowboys want to do that, that's up to them. If they don't, well, hey, that's up to them as well. But obviously, we'll miss Sean Lee. Obviously, we're rooting for him in whatever comes next. Can't wait to see what comes next. But I know that what's coming next year at Blogging the Boys is some draft coverage. Like I said, Tuesday night, live show, live draft, live simulation. Myself, Connor Livesey, Dalton Miller, Cole Patterson. We will podcast the conversation for those of you who can't join us live and are going to be on the road and only want to listen or something. And you can always catch the rewatch here on the channel on YouTube. Make sure you do subscribe. Like I said, big plans in store for you this week as the NFL draft is here. It's draft week. We made it. Who is going to be the 10th overall pick? I don't know, but we're going to know soon enough. So thank you, Sean Lee, for all the memories, all the good times. We wish you all the best. We'll see all of you next time.